I figured we can probably do this once a week. And so here we are in the patio with a couple dead shrubberies behind me to make it all pretty. And we can answer some questions. So fire them up in the chat. And this can go however you like. And please excuse the airplanes that might bother us from time to time, but no problems there. And you know what? I'll go to the chat feature that we loaded up this morning with some questions to get us going. And then we can see where it goes from here. So let's see. This is Mark D. And Mark asks, Mark here from the UK. Thanks for all your work. Love the draft breakdowns. I've done for years. Strange days at Liverpool. So Cowboys draft feels like the draft capital we have provides our best chance in a long time to truly take a game-changing defender. I'm generally against trading up, but Styles and Downs sets us up. Who are you going for and why? And I am team Falk, Keldrick Falk, Auburn at number 20, more than 12. Thank you for all your work, Mark. Okay, so that's a good one to start with. Thank you, Mark, for joining us from the UK, of course. And I guess my position on trading up is I hate to do it when a team has this many holes. And so I would resist that most likely. But as we've talked about this week on Football Friends and on the ticket, I feel like there's a big six. So let's start there. So your six defenders who I think can sort of jump right in and be difference makers would, of course, be David Bailey, Texas Tech, Ruben Bain, Miami, Sonny Styles, Ohio State, Arvell Reese, Ohio State. Those are both linebackers. Bain and Bailey, of course, are edge rushers. And then two DBs. And these are all staggered on levels, of course. But Caleb Downs is our guy from Ohio State, the safety. And Mansour Delane from LSU is the cornerback. And that is kind of where I would say those are your dreams for number 12. So obviously, first priority is let's get one of them to 12. Then from there, we would then say, okay, if I think all six are gone, that would be very bad. And so that's where I start to think about trading up. And then there are two tiers to that, maybe three tiers. So the first tier is to trade all the way up to get your choice of almost any of them. So of the big six, you could probably get 2 through 6, any one of them. But that would cost you to get to Arizona at number 3, 12 and 20. I don't want to do that. I don't want to give both firsts to go get, let's say, David Bailey from Texas Tech. I like David Bailey. I can't do both. Okay, so now tier 2 is the Cleveland pick at number 6. And Joseph Hoyt from the Dallas Morning News threw out a deal. I know a lot of people have thrown out this deal because it makes a lot of sense. You trade up with Cleveland, you trade 12 and 20 to get to 6, and Cleveland gives you 6 and 39. So I still have 2 picks. I still have 2 top 39 picks. But in order to go up, I've got to go back. I can do that. I think that's a good deal. And the reason 6 is important, and I've said this a bunch of times, but I want to keep repeating it. I believe Washington at 7 is going to take Sonny Styles. So if I want Sonny Styles, if I want the best run and hit linebacker in this draft, then I got to do that. And I'm cool doing that. So that would be appealing to me, is to go get Sonny Styles at 6. And then who do I take at 39? Well, I don't need a linebacker anymore, so I could go a number of directions, but we kind of got to see what's left, as we turn to day 2. But you can get something pretty good at 39. Okay, so then from there, we got to talk about tier 3 of the trade ups. So we talked about number 3, number 6, and now number 9, Kansas City. So if I want to go up to Kansas City, I probably got to go 12 and 92. I don't have to touch pick 20, but 12 and 92, my third rounder, which I just got for Osa Odigizua. Would I trade both of those to probably secure Caleb Downs or Mansour Delane? Because we are fairly confident that the Chiefs are going to want a DB, but they're also probably looking to add more picks. And they might be a dance partner with you at number 9. and I just don't know that Caleb Downs can get to 12, but I really want him. And so that would be the one that's pretty appealing to me is 12 and 92 to get to that spot at number 9. And, that's what we're talking about there. So those 3 different tiers, I just don't want to be cleaned out of all 6 by the time I get to 12 because that's when things get pretty skinny, and I don't like that. So, okay, there you go. There is Mark. Let's go to Nick now. Nick says, is there anyone in the 12 and 20 spot, assuming the Cowboys don't trade up or down, that have even a slight bit of concern that we would be dealing with Mozzie Smith, Taco Charlton Part 3? I mean, look, this is the draft, and so there are no guarantees here. No matter who you pick, they may not be what you think you're getting. It's football. Injuries happen, fits happen, life happens. So is there somebody we can get at pick 20 that is bust proof? I don't think that's how this works at all. Unfortunately, the answer is no. There are degrees, there are indicators of potential bust, but honestly, now we're talking floor ceiling. And if you want to simply draft picks that have no chance of busting, then you're taking all the high floor guys. And that's fine. But then you miss out on some of the potential star players. Like, honestly, Micah Parsons could have been a bust. He could have been. Now, he wasn't, but you don't know that ahead of time. That's why the draft is so confusing to so many, including those of us who try very hard to do well on this sort of thing every year. So I'm just going to say off the top of my head, there aren't bust proof guys, but it sounds like you are describing linemen who may not move the needle on the marquee. Boy, I just mixed up metaphors, didn't I? But you want needle movers, so you want guys who are star players who jump off the page. And that's why, even last year taking Tyler Booker, you're taking a guard. So what are the odds a guard can really, really, really change the narrative about your entire organization? Not great. Defensive tackle, same thing. But obviously they got to get on the field and at least provide solid play. And Mozzie Smith is not a high floor guy. He was a potential high ceiling guy, which means they felt like if he figured it out, he could, be one of the best in the league, but he never even came close to figuring it out. And so he busted because he couldn't even get on the field. And same with Taco Charlton. The fact they're both from Michigan is not great, but I would like to tell you there are some bust proof prospects available at pick 20, but if there was, they would be gone way before 20. That's just the nature of the beast. I wish I had a better answer for you, but there's no such thing, I don't think. Gavin Taylor says, I know there are reports out there that the Cowboys are out on Jermod McCoy, cornerback from Tennessee, due to medicals. But do you think at 20, if he is there, which feels likely, the Cowboys have no choice but to take him, especially with the quality of players that are expected to be left at 20? The injury concerns aren't nothing, but I also don't think they are everything. Still believe he can be that guy from 2024. Gavin, my personal belief, and I got to be clear about this all the time when we talk, my personal beliefs are different from what do I believe the Cowboys are going to do. The Tyler Smith thing is a great situation there where I looked at his Tulsa tape and I did not think he was a first rounder, but I knew the Cowboys liked him more than I did. And that gets into the weird thing as a media guy. Do people want us to give them our opinions, or do they want us to tell them what we think the Cowboys are thinking? And those are two different things. And at times I do both. And hopefully I'm clear on which I'm doing. But I just think it's important for us to sort of be honest about, our opinion versus the Cowboys' opinion. So let me do this with Jermod McCoy. My opinion, I think he's an excellent cornerback prospect. I think he will be an excellent player. I think his tape is better than Mansour Delane. I think I just love the player. I really, really do. Now, he didn't play at all in 2025 for those of you who are trying to get up to speed on Jermod McCoy. And he didn't do that because he blew his ACL in January of 25. So it's been 15 months, and it's very possible that all indications are that he will be in really good shape by training camp. But I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor, most likely. And even if you are a doctor, there's a really good chance that you have not um, examined his knee. And so we're all kind of working without a net here, aren't we? And so, my opinion, I would take Jermod McCoy at 20, and I wouldn't think twice. The Cowboys' opinion is that, from what I understand, they don't like what they've learned about his knee. And so, um, that's the long and short of things is that I like the player a lot. The Cowboys don't. We have to trust their medical intelligence is not perfect, but hopefully it's better than it was with Jalen Smith and guys like that. And these are huge decisions, and that's why a medical staff, whether it's the Mavericks and the whole Casey Smith imbroglio, or the Cowboys and Dr. Cowboy Hat, all these guys. It's why their job is so important. Is because you're trying to go get dudes on $100 million deals, and if you find out that you got a guy whose body can't hold up, I mean, what are we talking about here? So that's a very big deal. But thank you, Gavin. Hopefully that clears it up a little bit for you. From Jay, let's see. Cowboys draft reputation is what he's been wondering about. That was a stretch where it seemed like they were nailing it. Oh, there was a stretch where not so much. So a stretch of really good drafting team, and then a stretch of bad. And it seems to me anecdotally that the misses are always because they take a project, someone who shows great potential, but not necessarily the guy who proved it week after week at a big program already at the position you're drafting him to play. Does that sound about right? Are you a believer in the big program guys are just about all you should draft up top? Um, Interesting. Kind of in the NIL era, I do have to believe that the small school guys should probably work their way up to a bigger school and kind of prove their merits there. Because in the past, you go to a small school, we have to completely guess what you would look like against NFL caliber athletes. And now we have a way of finding out before the draft, which is called the portal. And the paychecks are nice. And so there's a lot of reasons to move up the ladder. Um, I don't want to be exclusive about needing a big program guy all the time, but I do think there's a lot of a lot of reasonable merit to that sort of thing. So, as far as the stretches of drafting, again, let me go cross sports because I love to. Jim Nill was a bad drafter, and then he was the best drafter in the world. And I think what that should tell us is this is not an exact science. This is a world where, you know, um, it's very hard to predict the future. And don't look for somebody to bat 1,000 because that's impossible in sports. These are humans. These are not, you know, commodities. These are not pork bellies or coffee beans. These are humans with free will. We don't know how they're going to act when they get millions of dollars in their pocket. And so we can't possibly predict what their career will look like in a decade. They start to look for a spouse, they start to have kids, they start to figure out, investments. So there's just no way. So I don't look at it like I need my guys to bat 1,000. I look at it as they're trying to win the batting title against other hitters. And if hitting 300 is enough to win the batting title, then I need to assume you are a great hitter. And it's the same thing with the drafting. I need to compare you against your colleagues. And at no point was Bill Belichick or Howie Roseman perfect, but they seem to have a higher batting average than our teams pretty often. And so what are they doing? What can we steal? How can we be an innovator and not always last to the party? These are the questions of draft nerds like me. To Steve, Steve asks, I understand the logic of the Cowboys trading back and getting more picks. However, their draft history of not doing as well on later picks makes me think they should take their picks in the first round with a better chance of hitting good players or even trade up to increase their chances of getting a great player. That's totally sensible, except we have 11 players on the field at all times on offense and 11 players on the field at all times on defense. That's 22. Then we're going to lose 5 or 6 guys on each side of the ball. So let's add another dozen. So now we're up to 34. Now we need a good kicker and a good punter and a good special teams return man and some good coverage guys. So now I need 40 good players to compete for a Super Bowl. Then I'm going to draft some guys who aren't ready yet. So I got to make room for them. So that's 45. Now, it's just the point to all of this is in football, it's quantity. In basketball, if you have 2 of the best 10 players in the league, you can win a title. That's not true in the NFL. So I hear what you're saying. I also agree that the higher the picks, the more likely we are to get good players. That's how drafts work, of course. But this team in particular under Jerry Jones, has tried to get 5 great players. And it could be Romo, Witten, Tyron Smith, DeMarcus Ware, Dez Bryant. They could get those 5 guys, but they could never get the best 40. And that's why trading back, that's why diversifying your portfolio. That's why the Micah Parsons trade has some logic to it if you don't turn right around and cancel it out with the Quinnen Williams or the Max Crosby trades. So diversifying your portfolio makes tons more sense than paying $60 million to a quarterback. It just does. Unless your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes, and we know Dak is not. So you're right. If this was the NBA, I would take picks 12 and 20 and 92 and several others and try to go get the number 1 pick or the number 2 pick. But football has proven time and time again, because of the high attrition rates, because of the short careers, we need strength in numbers. So that's probably where I am on that. All right, to Chris, and I am already seeing, I should have brought my water bottle out here. I might pause us at some point so that I don't get too parched. From Chris, morning, Bob. Because of how poor the defense was last year in the window of opportunity with Dak's prime, would you be opposed to any scenario where Dallas trades one of the first-round picks this year for a first next year? You can recoup the second first-round pick you lost in the Quinnen deal, but you damage your chances at improving this year's team defensively. Are 12 and 20 off the board for you if it means getting back only future capital? Yes, I believe so. If the window is now, then let's seize the day. Let's take advantage of Dak at this age, CD at this age, Quinnen Williams at this age, Kenny Clark at this age, George Pickens at this age. I think putting off fire sale, tanking for the future, it has sense in certain places. I just don't think for the Cowboys that makes sense right now. I think you should be going for the now. And I honestly think that's one of the reasons I would not have even considered a Micah Parsons trade, but I don't want to go back to that every single time we talk about this team. To Rusty. Rusty asks, screw the Cowboys. Will Miro be ready for game 1? Great question. I don't know the answer. I wish I did. But I don't think it's terrible. But I do think he's going to miss time. Now, the Stars are in a good spot, especially if they win today, where there's nothing to play for in Toronto or in Buffalo. So let's get 2 points today and close this thing. But, I don't love where they're at right now with injuries, which is what we said last year, which is what we said the year before. This is a team that it's been difficult to stay healthy. I'm not saying they are more injury prone than any other contender, because I honestly don't track every other contender nearly as closely. But yeah, the Miro thing sucks. The Rope thing sucks. And last year they didn't have Miro in the first round. They didn't have Robo in the first round, and they beat the Avalanche. So one of these times they're not going to be able to escape these difficult positions, but they're very good at figuring things out. And so they've earned the benefit of the doubt until the Western Finals. And yeah, I don't think it's serious, but I do think game one is in doubt for both Hintz and Miro just based on the way Jim Nill and Glenn Gultson are talking. To Derek. Derek asks, okay, Bob, I keep seeing all these things about Troy Aikman going to work for Miami. In what capacity? Who knows? But my question is, how much do you think that will piss off the Cowboys faithful? It will irritate me to no end if we, the Dallas Cowboys, let him go help another franchise as a full-time capacity when it feels like he'd be thrilled to help us. Okay. I know a lot about this topic with talking with Troy for a long time about these things. I know for a fact he would love to be running a personnel department, and I know for a fact his first choice would be the Dallas Cowboys. I also know the Cowboys have no interest in letting anyone else run their personnel department but the Jones family. So there's your issue. Good news. Troy's not leaving TV to go to the Miami Dolphins. He did a little freelance work for the Miami Dolphins. He helped them find a good general manager and a good coach. And he has said he will take a personal interest in their fortunes because, he helped buy those groceries, but he's not going to work for the Dolphins. He's very well compensated, I think, to the tune of 18 to 20 million a year by ESPN. His deal will expire soon, and he might double that because of Tom Brady's Fox deal. And I think it's good to be Troy. I think he enjoys his calendar. I think he enjoys his off seasons. And I don't think at this age he's still itching to run a front office. I do think if the Cowboys called tomorrow, he might change all of his opinions because he's got a fair amount of money in the bank, so he doesn't need more of that. But I just think overall, don't worry, he's not going to the Dolphins. But also, don't worry, the Cowboys aren't hiring him as GM. They should. I think. I think he's as sharp as they come, and I think he's as hardworking as they come. But I don't see Jerry and Steven changing their spots now. If they did, it would be quite a fun day. But I don't. I'm not going to wait up for that one. Brian asks, if somehow Downs falls to us at 12 and we pick him, I would lean toward moving off 20 to add more picks since there seems to be a lot of middle talent. Unless someone drastically slides to them at 20, what say you? Okay. Downs slides to 20. And then, Downs slides to 12. Now we trade 20 back to, let's say, 25 and 45 or 30 and 55 or something like that. I don't have my notes in front of me on where they're trading back, but let's say they go back 10 spots and they pick up a second. I'm here for it, man. I think you take Downs, we trade back, we take our middle linebacker, Jacob Rodriguez, CJ Allen, someone of that nature, Anthony Hill, Texas. And now we have an additional second. Yeah, I'm here for that all day. That sounds great, Brian. Call in that trade. Gregory, if Dallas gets wiped out, is Mesidor at 12 crazy? I keep hearing this, and I'm not sure I believe it. My opinion on that, let's see where I had Mesidor. I've got him as a first, second. He's 25, and I really liked him. The problem is I did a trade, or excuse me, I did his profile. I'm waving goodbye to somebody who's at the house. Sorry. I did his profile before the Super Bowl. So the problem with doing this many profiles is I start to forget what I thought of each player, which is why you have to keep careful notes. But, like him a lot. 12 feels rich to me. So I will give that as my answer. I would love to have Akeem Mesidor. 12 feels rich. Somebody asked me the other day if all six of the big six get knocked out, where am I going? I think I would go Dylan. Uh, I do this every time. Tiedemann, Fenneman, the Oregon safety. You know what? I'm going to look up what Brugler says. This is always fun. I'm going to do this on a live chat. Let's see, because I got the monster with me. Here it is. The pronunciation guide in the Beast, not the monster, is so important. When I do draft coverage, I got to have all these guys down. Okay, so I'm in the Dane Brugler Beast. Go to the Athletic, and it's free. It's awesome. The Athletic isn't free. This is free. Uh, Dylan Thieneman, Thieneman, Thieneman. I've got to get that down. Thieneman. This will be a good clip. We should use this one. Dylan Thieneman. So that's who I would take at 12 if the Cowboys are cleaned out of the Big Six. I can't trade back, and I don't have the guts to take Kenyon Sadiq or Jeremiah Love. Okay, don't go anywhere. I'm going to try to get up without banging the camera too hard, and I'm going to go get my bottle of water. I'll be right back. Okay, so where were we? Okay, I think Timothy's next. Let's see. Hold on. Eric is next. Eric says, "Hey Bob, I won't be able to join live. Here's my question for you. You're on the clock at 12 and 20. Your pet cats at each are gone. Who do you think at 12 and 20 to turn those lemons into lemonade?" Hmm. Well, I've I've really built up a lot that I got to get out of here with some of these defensive big six. So that's my goal. But my fallbacks. Um, okay. Some fallbacks that aren't popular with everybody on Cowboys Twitter. I do think Keldrick Falk can play, and I do think everybody is way too low on him. I understand the concerns. I talked about this with Georgie this week on the podcast. Um, Keldrick Falk is 20 years old, guys. He is 6'6", 290. He is perfect for a 3-4, 5 tech. He's going to destroy the run. He's very, very useful as a big cat. I I don't understand why people are against him, and I don't understand what the problem is with TJ Parker. And in 5 years, I expect both to be studs. So TJ Parker is a guy I like. I love Caden McDonald at defensive tackle. I know that's not terribly sexy for everybody. And Cassius Howell's a dude. Our Mason Thomas is better than I expected. So I'm going to spam you with defensive prospects. Caleb Banks would be really fun. Lee Hunter would be really fun. So these are some of the guys I really like. Um, but I do keep coming back to Thieneman, Dylan Thieneman. Okay, let's see here. What do we got next? I'm about to get to the live chat, so hang on with me. Timothy, are the Stars lacking in speed and athleticism when compared to the Avs, the Wild, and other contenders? I see opponents easily cross the blue line while Dallas turns it into an adventure every power play. I see opponents quicker with their feet and puck play, negating the Stars' attempts at forechecking. Um, okay, so we got a lot of different questions or a lot of different sub points in there, and I love a big, long answer and a multi digression here. So just flat out speed. I would imagine of those three teams, especially with Rope Hintz out of the lineup, the Stars are probably the third fastest. That doesn't mean they're slow. but it does mean the Avalanche are very fast. And now with Quinn Hughes and obviously Kaprizov and Boldy and Zuccarelli, and it's just, there's some dudes who can really get going. Heck, even some of their wingers, even some of their physical players have decent speed about them. So, um, yeah, I think though the crossing the blue line on the power play is a feature, not a bug, and I know it drives us all crazy, especially when you're at the arena and especially when the Stars are behind. That they take 60 seconds to get into the zone. They refuse to dump it in. They want to dance at the blue line and risk offsides and risk turnovers and risk the puck getting stolen and cleared down the ice. Um, the drop entry on the power play drives fans crazy. It's a tactic that is not embraced by the public, even though it's used by nearly every team in the league. Um, but the Stars are great at tic tac toe plays. I mean, great relative to not relative to perfect, relative to around the league. It's hard. And when you have Duchesne and Robertson and Wyatt and Miko and these guys and Miro making these tic tac toe passes, Thomas Harley, they do it really, really well. So, yes, it's frustrating. And yes, they're pretty good at it. They're not Edmonton. They don't have McDavid speed. They don't have McKinnon speed. But getting Sam Steele back in the lineup gives you a ton more speed than you had. Getting Rope back gives you a ton more speed than you had. Um, they're not slow. They're just up against the fastest guys to ever play the game in some respects. Chris wants to know, what are your thoughts on the Mavs GM search? Consider me skeptical that someone like Presti or Stevens or Connolly would leave their current positions. I agree with you. I don't know that the Mavericks will be able to pick any guy off his current organization and just steal him away. Um, I'm also on record as saying I think Matt Riccardi is super sharp. I think Michael Finley and Matt Riccardi are not bad together. I do understand the benefits of a full reboot. I'm just kind of tired of a full reboot. I kind of want the Mavericks to begin the future as opposed to continuing to clean up the past. I know some of you want that. I'm just not one of them. I feel like the guy responsible was fired. So I'm not against the internal hire, but I do think you need to do a vast search. And I do think we need to make a point that this summer we are moving on. No matter what, we are moving on. Is that with Jason Kidd? I don't know. I'm not sure I would fire him because he probably had an opinion about Luka ahead of time. He's not the GM. He does not make trades. He cannot be held responsible for it. I just don't believe so. But I also know that everybody still is sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I get it. I just don't necessarily join everybody, and that makes people mad. But I got to be me, everybody. Okay, to the live chat. We've gone 35 minutes. I don't want you all losing interest, so let me go 20 more, kind of speed round here, and we'll get you close to noon. I like doing these, by the way. Maybe we'll do them on weekdays, maybe weeknights. I want to do at least one a week. I want to make sure you guys get the content that you certainly deserve, because you all are very important to me, and I want to let you know that. Okay. To Seth, very peaceful sounding where you're at. Thank you. It's a lovely patio, and I will be watching the Masters on a TV right there before long. Look forward to that. Seth writes, is that the same Seth? Oh, yeah, it is. Cowboys seem to use the franchise tag and 50-year option differently. You think that is because Jerry and Steven helped develop those options in the CBA? Maybe. I don't know. I think they use the franchise tag too much, personally. I think I would prefer that they make a habit out of rewarding their players with the contracts they deserve early so that they can help their own cap situation. They almost never do, and that's frustrating. And I disagree with it, and I disagree using the tag as often as they do. The tag should be used as a last resort, not as a crutch. But again, they've never asked me any of these questions. If only Jerry and Steven were in the chat. Tyler, do you think our third rounder in 12 is enough to get to 8 or 9? Yes. Um, I'd it let us keep 20 and jump Cincinnati, who I think is going to go defense. Man, I don't know. You might be right, but I always think Cincinnati needs offensive line help. So let's see. But I do think 12 and 92 will get you to 9 in Kansas City. So I like that possibility. I forget who's at 8. The Saints. Saints are at 8. I don't know if the Saints want to do business, but you do know Kellen Moore pretty well. So that should help. Joel writes, just read your O-line profiles. Any of those good enough that someone would want to come up to 12? Any other best bets for someone looking to come up? Yeah, 100%. The trade up people will be wanting offensive line and wide receiver. And yes, those offensive linemen are good enough to move up for. So the top offensive lineman that I can see for now is Mawanoa and Fano, Miami and Utah. Those are my two favorites. Tier 2 for me is Monroe, Freeling, Georgia, and Caden Proctor, Alabama. I need to do Caleb Lomu this afternoon. But yeah, look, there's going to be, seriously, there's going to be 8 offensive linemen in the first round, maybe 9, possibly 10, which is crazy, but it's going to happen. That's this draft. It's a little weird draft, but you're going to get 8 to 10. And so sitting at 12, maybe 2, possibly 3 are gone, which is good because if 2 or 3 are gone, then one of our big 6 on defense are going to slide to us at 12. But if if only one of those guys are gone, then if you're looking at Mawanoa at 12, man, I might take him myself. That would make everybody crazy, but I might do that. But yeah, you should be getting plenty of phone calls and you should be able to profit off that. So bad news if offense doesn't go in the top 10, because that means your defense is cleaned out. But the good news is that's where you should be able to trade back and get a fair number of picks. So good news, bad news. We have a plan for every situation, don't we? Nick, didn't realize there was such dense forestry in the middle of DFW. Nice backyard. You know, I used to have trees back there, and now it's the Sahara Desert because the storm took my trees. So don't be fooled by the shrubbery. These are not tall trees. These are like 6-foot tall bushes. The trees behind them, it used to be a forest, and now it's a desert. So, Jason, would you still try to trade up with the Browns at 6 if Bailey, Reese, and Styles are gone? Is Downs worth the move up to, or do you stay pat and hope he falls to 12? Okay, Bailey, Reese, Styles are gone. That leaves Bain, Downs, and Delane. What would Washington do if Reese, Styles, and Bailey are gone? They might take Bain. No, I would not trade 12 and 20 to get to 6. I don't think. Although if they give me 39, maybe you got me back in there. Joel asked, will you join me in praying for rain tomorrow so I could watch the Masters instead of coaching my 7-year-old soccer game? Man, I remember those days, my friend. I remember the days of loving watching my kids play sports until they played sports right over the Masters or something really important to me. I'm not going to tell you that these are the best days of your life. I am going to tell you that at least Rory's up by 6 and you're probably not going to miss much. Josh, it's hard to make predictions, especially about the future. That is exactly right. Blue Eagle, what day 3 prospect will you be keeping your eyes on? Well, I don't know if these are day 3 prospects, but some of the guys that I have profiled like Bud Clark from TCU, probably day two. Dominique Orange, Iowa State, probably day two. Will Lee, Texas A&M, probably day two. There's a Deion Burks, Oklahoma. If he gets a day three, I would be so excited. I don't know if he will. Trey Zune, A&M. I'm not just going to list A&M players here. I know everybody's on guard for me being a big homer. Who else? I don't know. Dead air is not fun, is it? Taylon Green, Arkansas. That'd be a fun one. He's still around in, round six. Let's go get Taylon Green in here. That'd be fun. I don't know if he will be, but it's a weird quarterback draft. There's not much after Mendoza. Let's see. How many more we got here? All right, a couple more. We'll wrap it up. Jason, let's say the big six defensive players are off the board when it gets to 12, and the three or four highest rated players on your board are all offense. What do you do? This assumes there is no trade back available, I think he's saying. Jeremiah Love is really good, guys. Francis Mawanoa is really good. Kenyon Sadiq is really good. Jordan Tyson is really good. These are my draft profiles. There's a lot of offensive guys that if I took, I would not be mad. I want to help my defense, but I first want to help the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm going to get the Dallas Cowboys really good football players, and I'm going to try to cheat defense. But look, guys, it is what it is. If the best football players by a good margin are offense, I can't be stupid about it. I'd rather trade back. I'd rather, figure it out another way. But Jeremiah Love is not a mistake at 20, especially. But if at 12, I have better options. But if I end up with Jeremiah Love on this offense, I just massively upgraded a position. So much so that if Washington takes Jeremiah Love, I'm not going to be happy about that, guys, because now I got to tackle him for 10 years. Not fun. We saw that with Saquon. I know people get stubborn in draft season by absolutely not taking a Michigan guy, absolutely not taking an offensive guy, absolutely not taking a running back. Just because the Ezekiel Elliott thing didn't work at 4 doesn't mean a running back in the first round is always bad. Jahmyr Gibbs went right around 12. That wasn't a bad pick by Detroit. Christian McCaffrey was not a bad pick. So let's be reasonable. Let's think this through and say, I want to help my defense, but I want to help the Dallas Cowboys more. Okay, Jason, are your Badgers going to win the national championship today? You know I'm not going to try to jinx them. I am very, very, very interested in my Badgers, my sweet hockey program that people ask, who was your favorite hockey team growing up? The Wisconsin Badgers. Yeah, but who was your favorite NHL team? No, I didn't have one. The Wisconsin Badgers. My first sports memory of substance was the Miracle on Ice. My second was Wisconsin winning the national title the next year. And then 2 years after that, Wisconsin hockey when I was 8 to 11, 12 years old was everything to me. Then they won again my senior year in high school in 1990. And my little high school went to Washington, D.C. for our senior trip. We packed us all in a couple vans and we went to Washington, D.C. as seniors in high school. And who was in the White House that day? The national champion Wisconsin Badgers. No lie. It was beautiful. They were shocked that we were there, congratulating them. But there was Chris Tansel and Gary Shuchuk and Dwayne Dirksen and all my heroes from the 1990 Wisconsin Badgers. Then they won in 2006 with a guy named Joe Pavelski. So that was national title number 6 in 2006. Danny Heatley, Joe Pavelski, those boys. Ryan Suter, I think, was on that team. And that was the year I made a bet on Bad Radio with Bill Guerin about I think Dan brokered a deal where if Wisconsin won, Bill Guerin has to shave his head for the playoffs. And he did because we beat Boston College, his school. And if Boston College would have won, I had to grow out my hair for a couple months, I think. But Wisconsin won. Unfortunately, after 2006, we stopped being a good hockey program, and our women became our good hockey program, which, no offense, but I don't really care, to be frank. And just recently, we hired a good coach, Mike Hastings from Minnesota State. He has turned the program over, and somehow we're playing for a national title today against those Denver Pioneers. So very excited. 4:30, ESPN2, the Frozen Four final. And yes, the Masters will be going on, and yes, the Stars will be playing. And no, I will not be distracted because I will be locked on with my boyhood heroes, the hockey playing Wisconsin Badgers. And yes, we like hockey because we were very, very bad at football and basketball for most of my life up at Wisconsin. Max wants to know, how confident are you that the Cowboys can walk out of the first couple of days with a positive outcome? I'm worried that 12 and 20 will see the players we want gone and that the Cowboys will wait too long to make a trade worth feeling good about. Now, come on, Max. Let's have a little positivity and optimism here. I think that they have a good chance of doing some good damage. I am not super confident because there are some scenarios where it looks bad, but let's try to get Caleb Downs in a Cowboys uniform, and then let's try to fix linebacker. And if you do both those things in the first 2 days, I think we need to be excited. I think we need to embrace trade backs and add picks, and that should add our opportunity to get this defense fully squared away. And if they don't get a linebacker, there's still a few months to work on it. So don't panic. Zach, if we are wiped out at 12 and have to go offense, does it open up the door to trading GP3? A lot of people want to trade George Pickens. I'm not completely against the premise of trading George Pickens at the right price, but I kind of think they're going to try to not do much beyond the franchise tag and then have another decision next spring because that's how the Cowboys do their business. So there you go. All right. So that's it. Look at that. We went like 50 minutes and you got to see my shrubbery, my dead landscaping. Dad's got to work on this. I'll see about that. I got the Brewer hoodie on. Hope all of you enjoyed that. Hey, enjoy your April weekend and whatever that means. So we will do this again maybe in a week if you all loved it or at least sort of liked it or were sort of interested in looking at me look at the camera. But thank you for your questions. And more importantly, thank you for supporting Sturmstack. I will get back to draft profiles because the draft is like 11 days away. We're running out of time. So have a good one, everybody. Thanks for being on here.